Hey everyone, it's Lindsey here from A Life Well Balanced. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Today I want to talk about a topic that I find seems to be a common thread no matter what age you are, and that is anxiety. So this is a topic that's actually quite near and dear to my heart because I've had periods of my life where I've felt extreme anxiety, and I can definitely tell you it's crippling. So I've been implementing my own strategies to help overcome fear and anxiety before it perpetuates into something even really terrible. But I wanted to bring an expert on the show so that we could discuss this a little bit more in depth. So I want to welcome Gail Weissert. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. So happy to be here.
Thank you. So as you guys might be able to tell, this is my mother. She is a licensed therapist who has also been in practice for over 30 years and has talked with a lot of people over the years about this common word, anxiety. Now, we were having a conversation about a week back, and I was asking, what are the major things? Why do people come to your office? What are the themes you see? And she said anxiety was one of them. So before we go any further, I just want to make sure, let's identify exactly what the word anxiety means. So what is anxiety?
Well, I think anxiety stems from fear, and it's actually a physiological state in the body, in which a certain part of our nervous system is activated, called the sympathetic nervous system. We're all animals, of course, as we all know, and fight-flight is a major defense mechanism because we were intended to defend ourselves against nature.
Right.
So that's a part of that. Only I say fight-flight on steroids because you're not just feeling it for a short period of time, you might feel it for a prolonged period of time, and it might actually cause symptoms that make you feel terrible.
Okay, and so some symptoms that people are feeling, what are some common things?
Well, at its most extreme, people will experience panic attacks, or they could pass out or something like that. Sometimes they end up in the emergency room with what they think is a heart attack, and that was actually as a result of anxiety. But
because of that feeling of just like your heart.
Sometimes they'll describe a tightness in the pit of their stomach or in their chest. They'll express to me that their thoughts are racing all the time, that they can't slow down, that one lady described to me as actually blender brain.
Okay.
Which meant that her thoughts kept going and going and going.
Okay.
Sometimes, therefore, it disturbs their sleep. And in fact, I think the brain is really overthinking to try to solve the problem of daily life. And this overthinking too much, too long, actually can lead to depression. So it can be very serious, and people lose work from anxiety, people have difficulty in relationships with anxiety, and it goes on and on and on.
It goes on. So I'm hearing this word a lot with people that I talk with, friends my age, younger people. It just seems to be this common thing. Everybody's like, oh, I had a big meeting, and I was just feeling like my heart was racing, and my mind is always constantly going. What is it that's making this, at least to me, I feel like this is appearing, it's coming up more and more and more. So what is it? Is it our modern day lifestyle?
I think the modern lifestyle is very contributory. From a young age, we are given the message that we should achieve. I think life is all about do, run, go, go, achieve. I see young high school girls with this, as young as 12. Sometimes even the sports they compete in. They're pushed to, be perfect and be better and be smarter and wiser. And then at the same time, from the other end, there's broadcasts coming from the media in every direction, from television to internet to YouTube to whatever source of media you have, that tends to promote fear and therefore the anxiety response. And finally, certainly in school or in the workplace, there's a lot of pressure. People are maybe doing the jobs of 3 people, for example.
Right.
I've seen that because of downsizing and outsourcing, and then we have fewer workers to do the same jobs with the same pressure, and so it's a push all the time. So we may have too many emails, too many phone calls, simply too much to do, and our brain gets overloaded from too much stimulation, going in for too many directions.
From too many directions. So then this is a great segue into talking about some coping strategies, because if we constantly have the pressures of all this stuff coming at us, I feel like one of the best ways is to really like stop and like check in with yourself internally and work on some ways of how you kind of receive the information that's coming to you. So I know I'm sure you have a lot of strategies that you use with your clients. So what are some things that you use to help them cope?
Well, everybody's different, so I try to have a conversation with them about what is a part of that. Sometimes we simply have to come up with some strategies to what I call clear out the chaos.
Okay.
Because if they have a very chaotic lifestyle, no matter what they do, it's going to all come back. So we have to really talk about practical things and things they can or should do to simplify life. That would be one. And then sometimes people can't really change the circumstances of their life very readily because of certain fixed things. So we try to find ways to cope as best possible. I view medication as a last choice where possible, because I've seen so many people have trouble getting off of it. And furthermore, medications specifically for anxiety tend to be very addictive. So that's another reason to not go that direction. However, there are times when the benefit outweighs the risk. So sometimes we would recommend that.
Well, let's talk about some alternatives to medicine, because I don't necessarily promote it, and I know you're not in that sort of line of work where you prescribe medicine. So
Correct.
What sort of things are you doing?
Well, a lot of people really like to exercise, and they already make it part of their life. And if they don't, I recommend they do.
Okay.
Maybe a total of 2.5 hours a week of some kind of long muscle exercise is thought to be beneficial in every way to everything, including your brain. So that's a very good technique, is to exercise whatever you like. If you like running, walking, swimming, that's any of those can be calming. Another one is simply being out in nature, believe it or not. I think being by the water or hiking in the mountains or something like that, if you can do that on a weekend with yourself or with your children, that's very good for you. Sometimes there are certain kind of teas that are calming. Chamomile tea is well known to do that. And there are some other teas that can help to calm.
Okay.
Essential oils, something I know that you like a lot.
Aromatherapy, yes.
Aromatherapy, and I believe most people don't think of that as their first go-to with anxiety, but it can be helpful to spray lavender on your pillow or have it on your wrist or on a tissue and inhale it. Lavender on the bottoms of your feet will help you sleep better and can have calming effects. There are others as well. I think Roman chamomile is one.
Yeah, Roman chamomile.
Rosemary.
Earthy ones. Rosemary, maybe frankincense. Those would be some ones off the top of my
So
head.
if you put those in a diffuser or wear them, perhaps it's a scent, that can be very good. It goes to the olfactory part of the brain and seems to bypass some of the other avenues to the brain, therefore producing a calming effect. So essential oils can be helpful.
Okay.
Any kind of meditation is really helpful. One of the thinking lines today is that mindfulness meditation is good for everybody. So what does that mean? Well, simply it is refocusing your thoughts to the present moment. So if I'm washing a cup, I'm washing a cup. People who have anxiety will be washing the cup and they're thinking about something else. So bringing the thoughts back to what you're doing.
I'm guilty of that, and that has actually been one of the strategies I've been using to kind of bring myself back into calmness, which is trying to be present and focused on the task at hand. And you'll find it's a lot harder than you think, because most people are like, oh yeah, I can do that. And really, we're accustomed to this. We have 1,000 things happening, so we're accustomed to thinking of the to-do list that's a mile long rather than just focusing those 5 minutes on being present.
Right. So then other kinds of meditation can be very helpful. I teach progressive relaxation and self-hypnosis, which actually, if you can get into that state of relaxation, you can do it in about 10 or 15 minutes, that actually takes you to the opposite state. One cannot be in the severely anxious state and in that relaxed state at the same time because they're opposite states. So I teach people how to get into that.
Okay. And actually, speaking of that, we'll put a link below. Mom has a deep relaxation hypnosis up on an app called Insight Timer. So I'll put a link below. You can get that. It's free, and you have quite a lot of good reviews on it. So I know you have a lot of success with hypnosis. So that's definitely something I would highly recommend you guys check out. So you've got hypnosis. What about some other things?
Oh, I was going to say there are some apps that you can get on the phone that help with anxiety. Believe it or not, there's an app for that.
Of course.
And I guess 3 of my favorites are Insight Timer. That's a very rich app. It has many, many things in it. And the other 2 that I know of that seem to help are one called Calm. And then the other one that is also helpful with anxiety is one called Pacifica.
Pacifica.
So if you could put those on your smartphone, there's a lot of information available right there.
Okay, perfect.
And you might want to read about things. Old-fashioned reading. I always think knowledge is power. So
knowledge
if you
is
really
power.
understand what is the basis of anxiety, that can be helpful. One of my favorite books is one that was really written in the 1980s by a very highly acclaimed expert by the name of Dr. David Burns. I've actually heard him speak. He wrote a book called The Feeling Good Handbook, and I believe there's some others that he's written since then. And many of my clients have found that the strategies in there are helpful. One of the biggest techniques that is frequently used is something called cognitive behavioral therapy, which in essence means to change how you think.
Right.
You change your thoughts, you change your life.
So reframing.
Right.
Your
So
mind.
everything to do that. And a little tiny trick that some people can do when they are in runaway awfulizing, I call that, is to put a little band around their wrist perhaps and do that when they see themselves going in a bad direction, gently, not harshly.
Right.
And then say, stop. How could I think about this differently? And so the strategy is basically to stop what you're thinking and try to think about it differently. So one of the things you and I talked about before was maybe we could put a list of some replacement thoughts, and we'll try to find something like that.
We will. We're going to have a download below for you guys of just some common thoughts and themes that seem to come up a lot. Because what I found, I actually use this personally. I use reframing a lot, and I think that has drastically shifted my view about and has really kept me calm. And I always had a couple common themes of the things that I would get anxious over. So I have, 3 or 4 positive thoughts that I know if my brain is going down that direction, I can easily pull myself back with a positive thought. So everybody has different things that they could have anxiety or fear over. But Mom, you have a couple common ones. So we'll put them sort of the negative ones and then some positive things that you can reframe, because I think that will be very helpful.
Good.
So we've talked about the resources. Are there any other resources?
Rather than resource, the one strategy, which is probably a separate interview, would be emotional freedom technique. I teach certain acupressure techniques, energy techniques that are based on ancient, really, healing techniques and strategies that where you can touch or tap or massage on certain parts of the body, and pairing that with certain kinds of words can help immensely with these situations. So that's another one. It's called EFT.
EFT.
You may have heard about that in other realms, but that's helpful. That's most of them, I think.
Those seem to be some really good ones. Well, actually, I think that probably wraps up everything that I really wanted to talk about with anxiety. Again, all of these things that Mom has been talking about are things that I have used personally, and I know you use them every day in your practice. So we'll make sure I have the links to all those resources we talked about below. I hope you liked this video. If you did, or if you know of somebody who you think could watch this video, please share it with them, or you know what, leave us a comment. We're happy to answer any questions. You can reach out. You could even talk to Mom if you live on the Eastern Shore of Maryland, or I guess anywhere in Maryland. You could come to her office. I know you're seeing lots of patients, and I know you have a good success rate with it. So, all right, guys, I hope you have a good one, and I'll see you next time.